Alright, today I'm making goblets. First thing we gotta do is get the bats settled. And as these bats get older, they warp. So they don't always sit the way you want them to. And if your bat is unbalanced, nothing you do will ever be balanced. You can hear that ticka ticka ticka, that means that my bat is not balanced. Now, these are brand new bats, so I shouldn't have any problem balancing this. Let's pop this one in instead. There we go. See? No tika tika. This is a 2-pound ball of clay. It's a mid-range fire, which means that I'm going to fire it up to over 2100 degrees for its second firing. First thing we do is make sure we have it centered. And then we raise it up. Now, because I'm going to make a goblet, I'm actually going to start by creating the base to the goblet. And then the stem. And the actual bowl of the goblet will be the very last thing I focus on. So it's important to keep the base wide for stability, and it can be trimmed down later depending on how wide I decide to make the top of the goblet. So now I'm going to open up the goblet. Now that I've opened up the goblet, I'm actually going to slow things down a little bit. Centrifugal force is very quickly going to go from being my friend to my enemy, and I don't want that, especially as the top of the goblet gets wider. Centrifugal force is going to want to pull the goblet down and turn it into a pancake, and I don't want that. I want the goblet. Now that I've opened the goblet up and I can see how big it's going to be, I can start raising the neck a little bit more, the stem, sorry. And you can see every time I raise the stem, the goblet goes a little off balance, but we'll set it to rights before we're done. Now we have the basic shape. Just a matter of balancing it out. I'm going to clean off the sludge, compress the clay. At this stage, if I want to change the shape of the goblet, this is when I'll do it. So if I want to bring it in a little bit, maybe give it more of an Irish look. Yeah, I kind of like that. All right, I'm going to clean it up. Tidy up the lip a little bit. Go. Now the last thing I'm going to do is straighten up the bottom a little bit. So I'm going to use a tool to carve down on the bottom a little bit, kind of tidy it up. Maybe smooth it down. And if I think the bottom's a little too wide, in this case I think it's just a bit on the wide side. So I think I'm going to carve it in, trim it down a little bit more. Scrape away all that excess clay. And then we'll tighten it back up. Press it down. Now the final bit of work will be done tomorrow after it's had a chance to dry a little bit. It'll get flipped over and I will indent the underside to lighten it up and allow it to dry better. If it's too thick, it doesn't dry properly, and that causes problems later on where it cracks or blows up in the kiln. And we don't want either of those things to happen, so tomorrow it will get trimmed. And then it needs to dry, and then I'll fire it and glaze it. And that is how we make a goblet.